welcome. Sports
Well,
Dev series with yours truly. Guys, thank you for coming on. Khaled, U19 manager, Rayo Vallecano, Spain. And Mike is a former senior manager of development at FIFA. Mike used to make all the money at FIFA, right, Mike?
we used to make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go. Grassroots football. That's
Yeah, well, thank you for coming, guys. I appreciate it. Look, so how do we how do we how do you create a player that can play in any league, any of the top leagues in the world? And for some weird reason, the Brazilians have been able to do it, right? They export the greatest number of top talent around the world. In any league you watch any Champions League game, you're guaranteed to see a number of Brazilians on each team, highly technical, highly exceptional players. Um, and then if you were to compare them to some of the European federations, they spend a lot less on development. So I just want to get you. I want to get your thoughts. Let's start there and kind of go from there. Mike, you can start and then Khaled pick up.
okay. Well, I think that's the $1 billion question. We're not talking of millions anymore. We're talking of billions today, and I think that is really what is amazing is that you find players from all over the world, from any corner of the world, making it to the top levels. So that means no matter where you are, there are opportunities for you to become a top player. But then, of course, you have to look at the intensity. You have to look at the numbers. And I mean, you rightly pointed out Brazil produces players en masse, but so does Nigeria. Those are two very populous countries, football crazy countries, and I think particularly countries where I would say it's relatively easy to play. Take a contrast to, for example, Switzerland, where everything is highly regulated. So if you're a young chap, you want to play football, you're not allowed to play on the street. That's not allowed. You cannot play in the parks anymore. That's not allowed. So you have to register in a club, and everything is hyper regulated, which has its benefits. We can come to that later. But I think in countries, for example, yeah, you mentioned Brazil. Kids play on the streets. They're free to play. It's the favorite pastime, and they do that until they enter a club system, which then takes that wild creativity that they have and put them in the system where that's the other side of the story, where they have competitions. And Brazil is one of the countries that has the most number of games for any clubs. I mean, I remember there was a number of years ago in the 90s when FC Sao Paulo was at its top. I mean, they had played over 200 games in a year. Can you imagine? So they play a lot, and I think that's really important, particularly in the youth at the youth level between the age of 12 and 16. Kids got to play, get those hours in. I think that's critical. So wherever you have this opportunity where you can play freely and be able to pick up a game and then having all these, that's where you get the experiences, that's where you get the ball handling skills, etc. And then you're a rough diamond that can then be polished in a particular system, and once you integrate a club, and if you're lucky enough to integrate a club which can then allow you to then take that raw skill talent that you have and have nurtured and basically boost yourself to the next level, let's say professional level in the top league, European league today.
No, absolutely. The creativity is important, and I'll come back to that because I don't want to lose track of Khaled. If not, I'll just keep talking to you for hours. My Khaled, yeah, let's hear what you think. I know you're in Spain, so I think Spain, what they call it, tiki taka, right? There's a lot of skillful players in Spain, and you see it every day with what they do. Very, very technical. Do you see the same thing as what the Brazilians do? Is it different from your experience in Spain?
Yeah, the Brazilian football different than Spanish football. They bases on talent players and technical players, but we're talking about different players. If we're talking about Brazil have a different culture than Spain. Spanish people have the football like sport. They started like sport and be professional. but Brazilian players started to be professional. This is a big difference between Brazilian player and anyone in the world, because they it's them life. The football is a life. Them life depend on if you have one of your family of your friends have a big talent or huge talent to be professional, then your life will be changed. So we're talking about different culture. Spanish people started to make it like sport, and when the kid have a talent, they started to push him to be a professional. The Brazilian, they have a natural talent first. They came from them DNA, maybe, I don't know, but I think they have something so important in them life. It's beaches and football sala or football. They play small 5 against 5. This kind of football make the players have a huge talent. You can't imagine. Now the new football we discover a small side game. You can imagine that Brazilian people make that all the life. They have a small beach, a small grounds in the street or official. They play this kind of football, 5 against 5, 3 against 3, and this make the players have a natural talent, and they make it develop so fast than normal players who play in normal playground, and they started to make them character tactically and personally in the football to be professional. So Spanish have methodology to create players. Brazilian people or Brazilian players, they born with them talent. This is the big gift from the from sky to any person have this talent naturally. We can't say only Brazil, but Brazilian people, as I told you, them life depend on the football, different than any country. So we're talking about special case maybe, but for sure, in all of the world have a big talent, a lot of talent, but to be professional, it's a different way. To be professional, you should to be in good system, depend on the country, federation, how they put the good player in a good place to progress to be a football player. Because always I said there is difference between football player and the footballer. Footballer, everyone can play football, but football player should to know those things, two things: football, tactically, and all aspects of football, and how to play, how to be player. You understand? This is personality. To make it, need a good system, good methodology to make a football player. And this methodology, you can find it in good countries like, for example, like European countries, or in Latin America, for example, in Brazil or in Argentina, or in another countries of Latin American who have a good system for football. This is a good thing we can do for this player, for those young players, put them in good system, and this is so important more than talent, because as I told you, there's a lot of people, a lot of guys, a lot of young boys have a huge talent, but they can't be Messi, for example, because they didn't find the good way and the good system to be inside.
Yeah, that's so let's discuss that for a second. So guys, you hear this all the time, right? Creativity, tactical brain. You have some guys, they grew up, like you said, they grew up playing small-sided games like in Brazil their entire life. They develop this creativity that you can't coach. And then they win Ballon d'Or. But you have guys who go through structured systems, and become very good players. but they don't get to that level like some of these technical, very highly skilled players. So I guess the question is it being able to have billions of dollars thrown into a lot of systems and creating this machine that with the licensed coaches, or is it having a free flowing system where kids go out and play nonstop, and then these kids develop skills that you can't coach, and after a while they then get into a system where they're able to teach them tactically how to make runs, what to do, and those sort of things. That is I'll give you an example, right? So I'm Nigerian, so I'm biased. JJ Okocha, right? Goes to JJ Okocha, Nigerian player, midfielder from back in the day, goes to Eintracht Frankfurt in Germany.
Maestro, absolute maestro.
Yeah, he does a tryout. His skill, you can't coach. It gets him signed, it gets him a deal, right? But I don't know if that would work today, because today everything is so tactical. Coaches don't have time to teach players, the tactics, if they're very skillful. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Is it creativity? Is it tactical systems? Which do you think plays a greater role in creating that global type of player that can be successful? Mike, you can go first.
I mean, one thing is for sure, the game has changed. I mean, if you watch the '86 World Cup, for example, and you compare it with games in the later some of the latter World Cups, you see the game has completely changed. I mean, back in the days, a defender was a defender. He had to be strong. He had to be tough. He was hardly ever skillful, with the exceptions of the Beckenbauers and the real sort of absolute exceptional players. And then the midfielders were the skillful ones. The wingers were extremely skillful and fast, and the strikers could be very square and strong. So you had this typologies, that you would find. Today, it's a lot more players, a lot more what you call in French polyvalent. They're multitask, multi-skill. I remember this guy Jorginho in the '94 Brazil team. His whole career, and Cafu as well, basically. Those are two players. Their whole careers are spent on the right lane, running up and down, or even and a bit later Roberto Carlos as well. Today, players are a lot more versatile. I mean, take a player like Alaba in Bayern Munich. I mean, this guy in the national team, he plays offensive midfielder sometimes. In Bayern Munich, he can play from central defense to left defense, or even to a defensive midfielder. So players today are a lot more rounded off. I think that is one thing. And the effect of that is that you have a lot less space now for, I would say, even the Zinedine Zidanes, the Okocha, the true playmakers. You still have maybe Messi, but that's really like an exception. But back in the days, you had that type. You had the playmaker, which today you don't have anymore. So the game has definitely changed. You have to be, no matter which position you play. I mean, even goalkeepers are not footballers. Look at Manuel Neuer. I mean, he could easily be one of the top central defenders. Actually, that's how he handles the ball. So I think that is one thing. Players are all top fit, whether you're a striker or a defender or a midfielder. You're highly skilled, and you're tactically smart. Those are the three things you need to bring. And of course, like Khaled said, the discipline to be a player. And that comes with to be a professional player. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it. Whereas maybe 20, 30 years ago, skill was enough. I think that is one thing. But maybe there's one important point on systems. And I just want to pick up what Khaled was saying in terms of the small-sided games. Germany. I'll take Germany. I am German, revealing that secret. I'm officially German. So we won the World Cup in 1990, right? With that team, and it's basically the '86 team minus one or two players, and added another one or two players, and then we won the 1990 World Cup. '94, that same team goes to the World Cup again, crashes out against Bulgaria. Jordan Lechkov and Risto Stoichkov killed us in that game. Then '98, even a worse performance, Croatia kicks us out. I think it was either 3-1 or 3-0. Davor Suker hurt us very badly. Very skillful teams basically played us against the wall. Then the German Football Federation realized, look, we have to do something. We're losing the connection to the evolution of the game. Things are becoming, it's the technical teams that are coming on strong. And look at the football France was playing in '98. It was football from a different style. It was exotic. It was at the same time tactically strong. So Germany was missing that spark, the creativity, like we said, like you mentioned earlier. So Germany did a very important move. They got their first technical director in Matthias Sammer in the early 2000s. And what he did, he basically designed this unified system that all German teams, clubs, would have to try and at least adhere to. And one of the important elements that came out of that, and that was the funding that came from the German Football Federation, was to basically build small-sided pitches all over Germany. And what did this create? It created the Özils, it created the Schweinsteigers, it created the Lahms, the Toni Krooses of today. And that brilliant team that already in 2006, when Germany hosted that team, those guys were super young, they were teenagers, but already it was a different football. All of a sudden, so in less than 10 years, they managed to transform the way this national team played. The pool of players became different. 2010, we became third in the South African World Cup, but could have had the potential to win. It was still a bit young, the team. 2014, we all know what happened. It was, probably one of the best German national teams we will ever see, because they had reached that. But then complacency kicks in, and then we have what happens in 2018.
It didn't qualify.
No, we're not. No, Korea kicked us out. Can you believe it? Anyway, but just to let you know that the system is important. And going back to just my last point, I really do think that if you could hypothetically transfer the system, the infrastructure, the funding from a country, I say Germany again, to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Senegal, even to RDC, my friend, these teams would be in the final of the World Cup before you know it. But they don't have that. Those federations don't have the structures and the structures and the funding. Maybe the funding is there somewhere, but it's not put to the right use, the common good for football. And I think that is a very important point. So the teams that now have the whole package and have the funding and the structures behind it to be able to have that, to build that package, they're going to perform. Many of our African federations are lacking those structures. And I mean, just imagine if you bring those structures to Nigeria. I mean, just a raw talent, you don't have that in Germany. It's a different league. And that's why at the youth level, they're doing so well. But then when it comes to the next level, it's all these other elements that kick in.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? It's a good point you bring up, Mike. And that's another thing we'll discuss. And I guess part of it has to do with, and one thing I want to compare always to is the Cuban model for development. And we'll come back to it. But then I guess the question I want to ask is, based on what you were saying, the overhaul of the DFB, when you look at it, German clubs altogether, I was reading somewhere, spent 96 million euros on developing football centers of excellence across the country. They dropped the price of getting a UEFA B, A, and Pro licenses in Germany to the lowest possible. It got to a point where I think you had something like 12,000 UEFA B licensed coaches. And then they recreated a system where every little province, nook or cranny in Germany, you could identify talents that could join a club. Very, very well, very typically German, efficient, right? But that kind of investment, and we'll come back to that. I want to get what Khaled is going to say about creativity versus structure systems. But that level of investment, is it absolutely mandatory for development? And it's something we'll come back to, taking a look at what the Cubans have done. And we'll come back to it as well. But Khaled, what do you think about creativity versus a structured system, like Mike's example of what the Germans did and how they were able to get to a point where they won the World Cup, right? In your home country in Egypt, Mohamed Salah, hands down, arguably, if top 5, top 10 players in the world today. No one can argue that. But Salah didn't. I mean, maybe if he had gone to Al Ahly or he had gone to Zamalek, I don't know. But Salah didn't get the same level of coaching as a player in Germany or Belgium. But you look at him, and he's an amazing player. So, just want to get your thoughts on comparing those two things and kind of seeing exactly, how we can get there.
If we're talking about the creativity, we should to talk about the methodology and system. As we talked and Mike talked about the German system.
Yeah.
They make all country work in the same system. And the system be to create players, football players, you understand? Because they think they make, they studied what they have, and they started to make their methodology to create this kind of players they needed. And this is so important to make the country pay money to create a system, not only the federation. We are not talking about football, professional football only. No, we're talking about sport. You understand? That some countries thinking it's like a joke or like a game, like something to fun. No, it's something to create a human, to create a person. You understand? Maybe this person be a football player or not, but should to give him the opportunity, to give him the facilities to go to start at least. So we're talking about the system. If we're talking about methodology, there's some people both technique different than tactic. For me, they are the same. For me, they came from me. You understand? From the head. If we create a football player, tactically make the player already play with the football. Nowadays, we have a global methodology or global method. The global method, not the same like analytic. We was work with it since million years ago, since Pharaonic and Greek people started to play football. Now, all tasks have the ball. So, if we're talking about tactical task or tactical exercise, so we're talking about player have ball and they started to make technical actions. You understand? So there is no difference between technical and tactical. They are nowadays they are in same package. You understand? So there is no difference between that. Some people thinking when I started to talk a lot of tactical, I will lose the technical part. No. If you bought your plan and your program, well, if you bought your objective tactically and technically, well, you will get it both. There is nothing nowadays. There is no analytic way. All of people, or almost all people, started to working in this kind of tasks: global, tactical, technical, physical, and mental object in same time. There is no different, or there is no separation between them. They work it in same time. And if we're talking about the players, we should know we're talking about a human. We're talking about a person. So some people, I think in Germany or any place in Europe or any country have a methodology. They started to put the mental part so important. They started to talking about the player have two parts, the head and the body. The body talking about physically and the technical. The head talking about three, mental, tactical, and technical. Okay, technical part came from here. I can't make a good feint without thinking before. So I thinking, then I act. So starting talking about that, I started to make it like part from the methodology to create a players like Tony Kroos, for example. If we, since 30 years ago, if we're talking about a German player have a talent, you said, no, I don't like, because the German style wasn't this kind of style. They didn't need this kind of players. But you see now, a lot of German players have a huge talent because they started to make the new football. They started to give them tactical first, and they make it develop the rest. Make players both the head first, mental, started to learn him and teach him the tactical aspects from 3 or 4 years ago, and they started to give him the technical with the play, with the game, not analytic, not far from the football. You didn't see now this kind of player of training. One of the players take the ball and they make a dribbling or passes or this kind of technical parts alone. I started to make it like in dynamic. So the player learn how to move, learn he play football, not play with the ball. There's so different between play with ball and play football. So this kind of tasks make the player, since he was 3 years old, he feeling he is football player. He started to understand the game, and every training session he learned something. And when he be 16 years old, already he is a player football. Already he have a lot of experience. He make his personality, and this is so important now to create the football player personality. And that is not finished when be 16 years old, because we see a lot of players make a personality in the playground, and when they started to work with another football coach, they change, they progress, they develop, like Mohamed Salah. If we see Mohamed Salah in the beginning in Basel, is different player. He just doing something, only one thing, run, without anything. But when he shocked with Mourinho, he was a good shock and a positive shock for him, because he started to work with high level coach. He didn't find himself. He found himself like so far that level. So he turned back to Italy and started from the beginning to work hard, to progress himself, to develop himself, to work in the things he didn't have to arrive to be in Liverpool again. And with Jurgen Klopp, he started to work in another or different work. So he found himself in this system, in this game style, in this methodology of this big coach. So for that, I said the player can progress even if he 25 or 30, 30 it's so difficult, but 25, 26, 27, he can continue to progress if he work well, if he have this initiative If he have the if he motivate himself to can get this object.
So, and that's a good point you bring up. So let me ask you this. So how does you mentioned the coaching, right? So Salah, what club did Salah go to when he was in Egypt? He wasn't in the top 3 or top 2, was he? What club was he with in Egypt? It wasn't Zamalek, it wasn't Al Ahly.
In Egypt, we have some clubs have like good school, or they know how to create football player.
Yeah.
Maybe, or to be honest, they know to create talent footballer, not football player, because they don't have a high level tactically, but they create good players. You understand? They have a good talent and a good physics. So
So-
he was in المقاولين العرب. Do you know Antoine Bell, the goalkeeper of Cameroon?
Yeah.
He
I know.
played in this team. He
Oh,
one of the not biggest club, but he have a good school and always play in first division. Always not. I think maybe 3 or 4 seasons go to second division, but he have a good school. So we're talking about 3 or 4 clubs in Egypt: Ismaili, Muqawloon, Embe. It's new, but it's a good. They have a good school. Another one called the Mansoura. It's in second division, but they have a good talented players in the second division. Always get players from Zoni school, go to Ahli, to Zamalek, and another clubs. But if we're talking about the methodology, it's a basis on technical, then physical. Then they started to put some tactical aspects, but they don't work mentally. They don't work tactically so hard in this point. So they create talented player. Physically, they are okay, but they can't play in Europe so fast or in high level. They need to get some steps before. This is the big problem in Arabic country. They have a good talent, or African countries the same. They create good players, talent players, have a good physique, but they don't know tactic. They don't have a character in the playground. You can find some European players, maybe less talent, but they good players because they understand the game. They are tactically better than the talented players. They have personality. They have them character in the playground. This part, this second, uh, who take the player in Africa or in Arab country or Latin countries to thinking and then react. The European player already have it from experience. You understand? Because he understand the game, have experience more than the player, another player. Not for age. Maybe he have 17 years old. The European players maybe have 17 years old, but his experience came because he make it a lot of times. Every season, every session, every training, every season, every game, he get these situations in the training sessions. So this is a good point in Europe. The players have the experience, have his character, act fast. You understand? This is more important. So for that, when you see the Egyptian league, for example, or another league in Arab countries or anywhere, you feel like there's different. There's different football, not the same. Not same football we see in Germany or in Spain or Portugal or in England. Not because they have a huge talent. No, they have a football players. They have a football players. Players know football and they have a character like a players.
So a lot of it had to do with coaching, So there's a lot of coaching element in there in how they teach these players how to play the game. And that example you gave is really good. You look at players like Christian Eriksen or De Bruyne. You know, those are good examples of what you mentioned. You know, physically maybe not fast, or they don't do, but their technique in knowing exactly what to do with the ball, when to do it, and how to make decisions. You see the difference when they play. You think that has to do with coaching, or is it that in Arab countries or in some African countries or even some Latin American countries, you see, like you said, technical, physical, but they don't do a lot of tactical? Is it that the tactical is lacking from a younger age, so they don't develop some of this decision making that you need when you play the game? We can start with you, Khaled, and then go into Mike on this point. Oh, Mike, you could go first. No, Mike could go first. And
when we talk about coaching, I was lucky enough, I had the privilege to be the son of a coach, and coach who's worked in some of, I would say, the lesser privileged environments where, I'll give you an example.
The great Otto Pfister.
he had to work. When he was coaching Zamalek in Egypt, he still thinks very positively of that experience, because compared to some of the other places he's been, the league is professional. It is professional. Yes, it's not. It doesn't have the. It's not a top European league, but the Northern African countries have, the league plays regularly. There's a calendar. There is the teams have got youth academies. Mm-hmm. You go to and when my dad was coaching in Ghana and I was playing the second division in Ghana. Second division, can you believe it? The amount of games that we started so late that we could not play the second half because the sun had went down, and the game was so delayed, and of course you didn't have floodlights. That's second division. That's this would not happen in Egypt. It would not happen in Algeria. It would not happen in Morocco. Let alone Tunisia. It wouldn't happen there. And so my father, as a coach in many of these countries and clubs that he was coaching, he was not only the head coach, he was also the physical trainer. He was also the goalkeeper coach. He had to take care of the equipment. When he was coaching, I'm not going to mention the country, but we had the footballs and the jerseys and the boots of the players in our house. My mom would wash these things for the team, and my dad the next day would pack it in the car and go to practice. National team. Can you believe this? Then you go to Bayern Munich. The only thing, Jogi Löw from Germany, the only thing he has to worry about is the tactics, the football he wants to play. The rest is all organized.
So, Mike, are you saying it's a function of also organization?
Absolutely.
Just understanding how the footballing department should work.
And it's professionalism. Each task, Khaled knows it very well. He's a team manager. That's a professional position. In many countries, the team manager is a joke because the guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's the friend of someone for the federation, so we'll make him a team manager. But he has no clue. We've had the amount of times where I have to say it right now. Cameroon was going when my dad was coaching Cameroon. We went to play a World Cup qualifier in Cape Verde Islands. When we were boarding the plane, 2 players could not board because they did not have a visa. Does the coach have to worry about that too? And then, of course, we still win in Cape Verde. But if 2 of your key players are not there, that messes up your system. And those are problems that Jogi Löw just does not have. You know what I mean? And that trickle, and that's the top. That's the top. So imagine what goes on at the youth level. Imagine what goes on in club football. I mean, that is just. I mean, it's. I don't know, man. It's anything but professional football, and you know, and you have to treat. And I think Khalid had an excellent point earlier. You know, you're creating a football player. It's a career. You know, it's a profession. It's a trade. You know, it's not just. Yeah, I mean, for someone who doesn't care about football, they think football is just a hobby, whatever. But no, it's a trade. Just like if you become an investment banker or you try to do something, it's a trade. You know, you train for it, and the more professional your environment, the better you're going to perform. And just to make a link to what we mentioned earlier, I really think that countries that do relatively well, it's also because there's an environment where clubs can be clubs and football system can be professional. Give you an example. You don't need someone to bring in the money into a club. No, but you need professional people in the club who can then tap into a market to get sponsorships, to then bring that into the football system. And then the right people in that club are going to use that money that the marketing guy got, the professional marketing guy was able to get. Yeah. And then you have the funds. It's not because one rich guy is the president of the club. No, it's because you have professionals in the different departments of the game, off the field. So I think the organizational element of it is absolutely critical, and this is what is missing in I think a lot of our a lot of the developing countries, I would say. And yes, the coaching is very important, but the coach should also be able to concentrate on football and not worry about pumping the balls. Or, I mean, I have to say it again. Togo World Cup 2006. We had, my dad was coaching Togo. We had a friendly game. We drove from the camp to play against a regional selection in Germany, a third division regional selection. A good training game, right? We get there. They realized they did not have any shorts and socks. The equipment manager just forgot that. So the game was just delayed. People wondering what was happening. My dad called me. Hey, you cannot believe what happened. You know, we have no shorts. So the guy had to drive back to the camp, get the shorts, get the socks, and then come back. So we lost 2 hours in a critical, 4 or 5 days before the kickoff of the World Cup. That's the reality when you don't have professional structures, and the coach has to worry about that. And then you don't perform on the pitch, and it's the coach's fault. Anyway, I could go on and on, but just
I may be on a rant, but Mike, here's the thing, though. So it's something as simple as organizational management and creating a structure.
It will get you a long way.
It's just okay. You hire the right people. You want to become equipment manager. What's your background? Oh, I did X, Y, and Z. Okay, you have the skills necessary. Boom, you're hired. He does a great job. Now the coach doesn't have to worry about the equipment, right? You want to have a physio coach or a strength and conditioning coach. Same thing, right? So you're saying from what you've observed in a lot of these developing countries, and you worked with FIFA, so you went to a lot of countries and you were able to see their structures and see exactly what a lot of it has to do with that foundational aspect. Not necessarily pumping 90 million euros into, I mean, it does help, but of course it has to do with, of course it helps, but it has to do with the foundational. Okay, let's just have a good structure, the basics of running a football club. Is that right? Or what was your experience?
I'll give you an example. India, out of all places. There you have a huge opportunity now. You have in COVID, bringing challenges left and right. But what you had there is you had a lot of big, I would say, commercial tycoons who had a lot of money, who started seeing football also as a business. So I mean, it used to be traditionally just cricket. All the money went to cricket. Then you went into the ISL, the Indian Super League. But you had a huge gap between that league, which was like a couple of months tournament, and the rest of the football system. There was a huge gap, and we had recognized that was a real issue, and that you actually have to develop football at the state level, at the municipal level even. And I mean, India is a huge country; it has a continent of its own. So I think one of the things that we did that had the most impact was that instead of just giving the funds to the federation, the FIFA development funds to the federation, and let them, just carry on as usual. Try to instill a bit of a cultural change. And what we did, say, look, we developed what you call the state development program, where we created a bit of a competition that we needed a business plan from the different states. And based on the top 6 or 7 business plans, they will make it into that program. And what that program means, we then finance per state at state level a marketing guy, a technical director, and a manager who helps to then organize the game at the state level. So our funding was financing those 3 positions, which didn't exist before. And we help with the tender, we help with the recruitment. I myself went to Guwahati in the northeast of India to recruit the marketing guy, because it was so important to get the right person. It wasn't necessarily somebody who knew the sport very, but somebody who had connections to the market and could get, as I mentioned earlier, some of the funding in. That project was fantastic, because it started creating a structure. It was small, it was seed funding, but and I remember even the general secretary of the All India Football Federation said that this was probably the best project he had ever seen, because we went down and started doing instilling structural change in the way football was being run in a particular country. And that was just one example, right? But I think that's so I think it is about building structures. And you don't need that much, but you need professionalism. You need dedicated people, because maybe I could be an equipment guy, but if I love to do this and I get a basic sort of training and understand, and that makes me qualified. And it's basically the same thing with anything. I mean, you get the basic training, but then the rest, it's up to you and your motivation and how you do it. And I mean, the person in charge of the equipment in Bayern Munich, I'll tell you, he does that job with his heart. That's his job, to make sure that the jerseys are there crisp before every game.
No, you're right. I saw a special on Dortmund. And I saw it on Amazon Prime, a really good special on Dortmund. And the guy they interviewed that actually worked the equipment, he talked about his prior job. He said he used to work, I think, was in the coal mines or something. But this guy, he was dedicated. He had a relationship with the players. He knew exactly which player needed what. If this player, after a couple of games, he would need new shoes. This player here doesn't like his jersey feeling like this. He knew everything. It was amazing. Just one guy. It was one guy. So you're absolutely right. I think it does make a difference. If you think about it from the sense, if a coach has to worry about all these things, then what time is he going to have to create tactics or play?
And those positions they don't cost a lot of money, but it's a job, and you give I mean, Khaled, you know it. I mean, you're working for a professional club. There's so many people that you don't see as a football fan who are behind the organization. Bob, you know it yourself. I mean, it's the same in American football too.
Well, absolutely, you're right. And the funniest thing is this, and I'm glad you're saying these things, because a lot of people from the African continent are going to watch what we have here. Hopefully, you don't make some. It's so good.
You have to be honest. You have to be serious. Otherwise.
No, but you're right. Though. You're absolutely right. I mean, I've seen it. Which is why I'm laughing. I've definitely seen it in a lot of different levels. So that's why I'm laughing. But Khaled, what do you think in Spain? The level of coaching or how coaches have to be ready to develop talent. Do most of the coaches in Spain have UEFA Pro? Or is there a standard that a lot of these coaches have that they teach players the tactical aspect? I mean, when we talk about Spain, everyone says, Barca. Of course, that's where we go first, because their academy puts out players. But if you were to compare Vallecano to Barca in developing players, how would you make that comparison? How does that work in Spain?
If we're talking about the Spanish system, actually I like, because they create a lot of football coaches.
Yeah.
I think we have more than 5,000 coaches, professional coaches, or with license coaches. So they trying to give every place, every small club, opportunity to have a coach. Maybe this is affect in the football for football coaches, because not all those football coaches will be or would arrive to professional clubs. But the idea, they give the opportunity for small clubs to have professional coaches, and this is create players. This is first. And if we combine Rayo Vallecano and Barca, I think they have the same methodology. Maybe different facilities, maybe different object for clubs. But if we're talking about the talent and the methodology, I think it's maybe it's same. We're talking about the idea, create players, base self, mentality, and tactically. This is the same parties. Maybe if we're talking about Atletico Madrid, where I worked also in the best, it's a different methodology. They talking about tactic with physic. You understand? More than technical and tactical and mental. This is the three parties basis in the methodology of Barca, same in Rayo Vallecano. We're trying to give the players from the beginning the football as a game, to understand the game and the progress during the season after season, to make themselves found first them character, to have them personality, to know how to play first, how to play, because they already understand or they already understood the game. So it's the same idea, same methodology we using in Rayo Vallecano, same in Barcelona. Maybe they using it in different way than us, because as I told you, not same. You work in Rayo Vallecano, you wanted to create players to continuing in first division or second division, to be again in first division league. And another part, Barca or Barcelona, they talking about create players to win the league. This is different. But in same way, we have a lot of teams won the leagues every year in Rayo Vallecano. Not because we are the rich club in Madrid. I think with money, if we're talking about money, we're talking about Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Getafe, Leganés, Alcorcón, maybe Fuenlabrada, then Rayo Vallecano. About the facilities and the money, if we're talking about money. But if we're talking about the football level, we're talking about Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and the Rayo Vallecano. So the money or the football not depend on the money, to be honest. But as Mike said, it's an organization, professional administration. This thing is about, if we're talking about the club, if we're talking about the federation, should to have these three things: to be professional, to be organized, to administrate the things to make football. About the coaches, how we coaching in Rayo Vallecano or in the Spanish or almost of Spanish club, as I told you, we have the methodology based on tactical, and the part most important part from the tactical is the game style. How we play. Or for me, I understand the football like that. How I will play. For that, I will do that in the seasons or the session in the training, to play like that in the games. This is for me the football, and we're trying to give the player that point. and that idea, that philosophy, as we call it. We're trying to give them the idea about how we will play in the beginning with conversations, then in tasks, then in the game. About, for example, when we make the first conversation with players, some of them thinking it's not normal. It's not easy to play like that. But after 5 or 6 games, friendly games before the league, the competition, we make the video session for them, and we bought the ideas. We play it like that, starting like that, and now we playing like that. They starting say, yes, we got it. This is the part from coaching. How we get it from the administration? We're talking about federation giving us education to be a coaches. I think that happened also in Germany, on almost of European countries.
So let me interrupt you. So in Spain, they also use the UEFA standard coaching certificates, right? Or is it is there a Spanish? I'm not too sure. I don't know how that works in Europe. Does everyone that falls under the EU use the UEFA AB Pro, or does it work in a system where Spain may have its own specific licenses? The DFB would have its own. No. How does that work?
They have the standard UEFA license, but they call it first level, second level, third level. But equal UEFA B, UEFA A, UEFA B. This is the equal of the 3 level in Spain. Okay. But to be honest, those levels, this education, just to give you the base, the basic. Depending on the coach, how he will develop, how he progress, how he get the idea, how he create his methodology, get the basic, and they make his methodology. And depend on where he will work, he started to be like flexible. You understand? But always the idea and the philosophy, it's same. But in same time, we're talking about he already have the basic. Already he have the education. And when he started to work, it's dependent on him. You understand? This is the good point. for that we're talking about the importance of to be a professional federation, professional sport education in the country. As Mike said, and I said that before, the football not a game, not for fun. Sometimes the football save the people. You can imagine how many players in Brazil or Latin America or in Africa or in Egypt or in Arab country can lose his life to be a criminal, for example. You understand?
The Otto Pfister. We have
the big Otto Pfister.
The big Otto Pfister. Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Shalom alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Habibti wahashtini. Habibti wahashtini.
We are talking football, Papa.
How's Nigeria? Green Eagles is okay?
Well, we're the Super Eagles now, sir.
And the Super Eagles.
We've graduated.
I hope we can win the Africa Cup.
Well, you know what? We won the last 2 African Cups away. We won. You know, we're the best team in Africa.
Yeah. Because The bonus is in Naira, not in US dollar, in Naira.
You know what? My dream was always that you would coach for Nigeria, but it never happened. And I'm not sure why it never happened. You know,
Because people sleep. Huh?
People
He takes
sleep?
the other German coach who have never won title.
yeah.
He's a very good coach, but he is unlucky. He never win a title.
Yeah, I couldn't understand. They hired Bertie Vogts, but they didn't hire you.
He's taking the seat, so it's
Sorry.
all yours.
I look
Yes,
for a
we
new
have the great
position.
Autopista here. So they hired Bertie Vogts for Nigeria, but not you. I never understood that. Never did.
Yeah. You have my address. Speak with the president. I give you 20% from salary. No problem. he makes this African deal, you know.
No problem. I'll start work tomorrow.
I know Nigeria people like too much money. I know it.
You know, yes, we're a capitalist mindset in Nigeria. We have a capitalist mindset. But you know what? Yeah, it would have been great if you had coached Nigeria, especially during the time where we had some of those really good players. I think you coached against us when you were with Cameroon, right?
No, Ghana.
With Ghana,
Yeah, and you beat us.
Final 92.
92. I think Ghana beat us.
Final, we went 2-1 against the big Nigeria.
Yeah, I remember.
With your goalgetter,
Rashidi.
Rashid Yashidi.
Yeah, Rashidi
Yakini.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
What is your friend from Egypt? Is this your friend, your brother? Khaled.
Khaled, yeah.
Yes.
How is Samalek?
It's a better now. It's a better now. He after you left, he had a bad time, but now he turned to be a good team.
Yeah.
To be honest, one of the people who gave me a lot of ideas, tactical, was you. I was young. I didn't thinking in this moment I will work in football, to be honest. But I still remember this tactical or this movement. You was doing it all time, and with Zamalek you bought the two wings, and the two
wingers. I never play with wingers.
What?
I never play with wingers, my friend.
Yeah. I remember, but you bought two players in the wingers, and two bandes to make the defense line to be open in the middle to use this part. And I remember when Salahuddin, you bought like a reference in a game against Ahly. Every ball that you get it, send directly to his place behind the game, the defense line.
Yeah, done.
And I use it. I use this tactic. I think last this season against Atletico Madrid. To be honest, to give you your rights.
I have a very good time. I have a very good time with Zamalek. I have a very good time with Zamalek because I bring him 4 titles: Dowry, Champion, Egyptian Cup, Super Cup, and Africa Cup of Cup winner, and I qualified the team for the FIFA Club World Cup. Not so bad. 3 years. In 2 years, only 1 defeat. But Nigeria sleep. Why? I don't know why he don't take me.
I don't know either. I don't know either. If I was head of the federation, I would have had Autopista a long time ago. No questions asked.
I like too much Lagos. No problem for me.
Yeah, no, Lagos is a crazy city, but it's fun.
Yeah, I know it's a crazy city.
But I mean, a quick question for you. What would you say was the craziest thing you saw in all your time coaching, whether it was in Asia or Africa? Because you coached in Sudan. You coached, I remember you coached in Sudan.
Not Sudan, Al Marikh club 2 times.
Yeah, Almeric. Yeah. You actually had some Nigerian players playing for you then.
Idao.
Yeah.
1 year after me, he died in the field.
No way.
He died in the field, a heart attack. I don't know. But still today, the president is very nice with his family. All months he sent money to his family, to Nigeria.
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah, but he's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
And
Efosa, I have two Nigerian players.
I remember Efosa. Yeah, you coach Efosa.
A small boy, very good in dribbling.
Yeah,
little bit crazy like all these Africans. No problem for me.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? 2006 World Cup.
Yeah.
You decide to boycott the game with the Togo League.
I don't boycott the game. The problem was somebody shopped all the money from the team, That was the problem.
For the bonuses for the players?
Yeah. It's the bonus for the players for qualification. And then I strike, I given up 4 days before the game against South Korea. And then the president of Republic came crazy in Togo, Yeah. And then in the last moment, the FIFA pay all the bonus for the boy in advance, and he punished Togo with $100,000. Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I have to do it. Sometimes in Africa, it's not like here in Europe. It's not easy. But it is his story, no problem for me.
Yeah. I remember that situation, and you had a game. There was a game coming up, and all the newspapers said, Otto Pfister said he's not coaching the game.
Yeah. But I given up for push the federation for pay some money for the boys,
Yeah.
And I given up, and then all players was behind me. I came back, no problem, for me. I know all the stories, but it's football,
You know what? I tell Mike all the time. I'm like, Mike, your dad needs to write a book.
Write a book, yeah. I need a ghostwriter from Africa,
You can get one easily.
I need a ghostwriter from Africa because my English is very, very bad,
Yeah, you should get a ghostwriter, write a book on your experiences. I think it'd be a very rich book. There are a lot of people that would love to learn and read from your book.
It is a bestseller, I know. It's become a bestseller, no problem.
It will be. You know what? I'll be your agent in helping managing the book for you. Not a problem.
Now you have not for the book. You have my agent for Nigeria. Then I give you 20% from the signature. 20% from signature bonus. It's not so bad,
huh? Not a problem.
I'll talk. Where stay you now? In Lagos? Now?
No, actually, I live in Toronto. So I'm
in Toronto.
Yes, sir.
Very cold. Winter is very cold. What are you doing in winter?
Winter is tough. But it's summer now. It's nice and hot, and we go outside a lot. But we can't, because of the COVID. COVID has messed everything up for everyone. But it's nice.
What is in Canada with racism? The same problem like in the United States?
No, not even close. No, not even close. Canada is different history, So because of the history being different in Canada, they don't have the same social issues. I mean, it's a global problem, but not on the same level in different countries.
I don't understand this problem. We are all children from God or from Allah. I don't know what these people doing. Black or white or yellow or Muslim or Christian. I don't know. You are Muslim.
Me? No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not a Christian.
Yeah. Khaled, you are Muslim.
Khaled is Muslim. Yeah.
Ramadan Kareem.
Allahu Akbar.
But I agree with you, sir. It's very, very confusing, and the sooner we get rid of it, the better it is for everyone. We don't need.
But sometimes you go back to Nigeria.
I go to Nigeria every year. I hold soccer camps in Nigeria. I do a lot of I do a lot
Next
of work.
time you think about me, no problem. You know.
You know what? If matter of fact, when a lot of people see you, they're going to be very excited. You have a lot of fans in Africa. You know that.
I know now.
Yeah, you have a lot of fans in Africa.
I have also a fan club in Germany. You know.
Yes,
in Bayreuth.
No, okay. So you guys, I was always confused whether you were Swiss or German. But you're German.
I'm German. I'm German, but I live in Switzerland because my wife is from Switzerland. My son Mike is German also.
Yeah, Mike is Ghanaian though. Mike is not really German.
Yeah. That is not. This is a white African. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I tell him all the time. Yeah, Mike is the only guy I know who speaks German, French, Francophone Afrique, French African, Pidgin. Oh goodness! And I think he also Mike speaks that Congolese language too, right, Mike?
Hakuna Matata Hano.
I used to speak Lingala.
Lingala. Mike used to speak Lingala. This is the only person I know who speaks all these languages. Crazy.
I speak also Wolof.
You speak Wolof from Senegal?
Yeah. Nangadev.
Nangadev.
Mangifere. Amul Khalis.
Wow.
If you work like football coach in Africa, you have to speak minimum 5-6 languages. If not, you have problem. It's a corruption.
Let me ask you this question. Yeah, what do you think of the current Nigerian coach? What's
Gernot Roth is a nice guy. Is a nice guy. And
he's German, right?
Yeah, no, he's very, very cool. You know, he's not nervous. He's very cool.
Yeah.
And he take before some experience. He worked in Benin, I think, also in Burkina Faso. He understands the African mentality. You know, I think he's okay. No problem.
He's done a good job in Nigerian football so far.
Yeah,
brought in a lot of young players. Yeah, a lot of young players. Yeah,
that's very good. Very good. Okay.
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Okay. This is an honor for me talking to you. Absolutely.
Okay, Khaled. Shalom alaikum. Bokra, maybe. Bokra. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Twice alatul, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, Junior back in town.
Mike, that was classic, man. Not every day you get to talk to a legend.
Yeah, you're going to have to cut some of the some of the scenes if you want your show to be super popular. But
no, you know what? I'm not cutting anything. The whole thing. So I'm not cutting anything.
I had to deal with enough cleaning up after this guy. You know, almost on a daily basis.
You know what? I could talk to him for 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, what do you think what goes on here when we watch TV? We watch football, man. We watch football until 4 a.m. Any league, second Iraqi league, we watch it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Otto Pfister is an African legend. I didn't even know. You know what? I didn't even know he coached at Zamalek.
Yeah. He coached Zamalek.
Oh, really?
From 2000 to 2002. That time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you won all those championships with Zamalek?
His first game, can you imagine? His first game, it was incredible. I think it was November or December 1999. His first game was against Al Ahly in the National Stadium of Cairo. And they haven't won in years against Al Ahly. And God willing,
he won.
Soumaila Koulibaly scores 2-1 when we win. The first Bashir scores the 1-0. Al Ahly equalizes 1-1. And then Koulibaly does a free kick. Boom, 2-1. And from then on, you know, okay, this is going to be a good adventure.
No, you fall in love with him, yeah. Did Al Ahly have Abu Treka then?
No, he wasn't there yet.
No,
he wasn't there yet.
Abu Treka, that was a player. That was a special
amazing.
Guy.
Yeah.
No, but listen, guys, thank you. Just to, I guess, before we leave, any tips that you want to throw out? I think, Khaled, for you, what are some of the most important things for coaches to pick up, or aspiring players that want to compete on the larger scale? what would you say are some of the things that they should kind of work on a daily basis?
I didn't hear you well.
No, I said some of the things that players or coaches should work on to develop themselves to compete at the highest level. Your ideas for what those things are.
About with the player, or how I work with the player?
Oh, how a coach or a player should develop themselves to compete at the highest level.
As I told you, the player is a human. He should to believe. He should to have the motive or incentive to can work. And when he understand the football and feel comfortable with his position and the ideas, and they find himself, his character, he should to start to work so hard to be professional. Always I said, it's depend on the player. You can have the best coach as a player if you don't have this incentive to motivate yourself. You will never arrive. You will never reach your aims. It's depend on the player, because who play is the player, who work hard is the player. How many players playing with Guardiola and never be in the squad, and then they should to go to looking for another clubs. So maybe the coach is so important, but it's depend on the player. So for that, one of the methodology we work as a coaches, it's a communication. The communication not only with the player, we communicate with player, with the staff, with the club, with fans, with media, but the communication with player, it's so important. You should to have your methodology as a coach to make the aims, the real aims for the player or for whole team, and also to start to make the motivation and to make this those players work and feel comfortable and understand. You understand? So the communication is one of most important thing of coaches methodology nowadays, and I think the high level coaches, they arrive, and we had one of them a few minutes ago, Professor. If he don't have this method perfect to communicate with the players, to motivate the player well, to give the message well, to make everyone have his part and has his way, because when we're talking about the whole team, it's a different personality, different players culture. So not same when I talk with the players already he is nervous, I can't shout in his face. You understand how I do that? With methods. Before I start the game, the season, I started to study the players. Who need I shout in his face? Who need I go to his face to talk with him face to face directly? Who need to talk with him quiet to make him quiet? Who need I should to motivate him every second in the game? Who need this things? It depends the person. So the communication is so important. The coach is so important, but it's depend the players also. If the player have his part and he bought his part to work hard and to start to be professional, so he will arrive where he want. If we're talking about Salah, we can talk a lot of millions of examples of players, they hadn't anything in the life, and now they are playing in high level. For example, Kante in Chelsea. He went to Morocco, I think so, as I remember, and they said he is not a good player.
No way.
And now, I think so. As I remember, it was in Morocco, and now I think next day maybe he will be in Real Madrid. So it's dependent on the players. If he started to feel bad, if Salah, the shock of Mourinho make him feel bad and he returned to play in Egypt, he will never be one of the best players in the world now. But he bought his part, he started to work well, he started to work hard, and he started to understand what the coach need, what the coach want, what the game want, and now he is Salah. And one of the things I like to say always, Salah never scored any goal with his right foot. Last year was the first time, and he scored maybe three games continuing, 3 games with 3 goals with his right foot, because he worked. He decided, I will be good in this part, like Messi. Messi was one step behind this Cristiano because he didn't score any goal from fouls, and he started to work. Now he is the best. This is the player. If you worked, you will get. If you didn't work it, you will never get. Even you play with the best coach in the world.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Mike, for you, you've worked with tons of federations. So I think question to you is, based on what we're talking about as it relates to development, how could federations just, and the case study you gave from India, how could federations get to that point where they're able to create a national structure and say, you know what, this is how we're going to develop the game and create those sort of players?
I think it all boils down. It boils down to leadership, and the fish starts rotting at its head. So if you have bad leadership, the whole bloody animal, which is a complex organism that a country system is not going to go anywhere. And it's the same in every sector. I mean, we just had the coach here. You can still feel the energy that he has, this natural way of connecting with people. And, you bring that into a team, you can do miracles. For example, he was never scared of putting himself in front of the team and get the bashing from the media, get it from the federation, stand up for the players. So with the very limited means that he had at his disposals, he managed to create a unity as much as possible. Probably more than any other coach could in certain circumstances, because he had that leadership and that ability to motivate, the boys, like he says, right? So I think it really boils down to leadership. And if you have a professional-minded, serious football administrator, who runs football in the country, he's going to make sure that the right people are at the key positions. And, the other thing you have to realize, it's Rome wasn't built in a day. You wouldn't change the system overnight. But you need to start. You need to break a bad system and start building. And this, I think, you need a leader, and the leader needs the support from the even bigger guys, especially in these what we would call the smaller federations, for lack of better words, because it's tough. And if you want to change a system that is that is difficult, that is corrupt, that is darkened by entrenched interests, it's easy to say, oh, this guy hasn't reformed anything. But it's tough, man. It's very, very difficult. And some people, for example, they may be in leadership positions and they know they should step down, but they can't because the people around them will not let them leave because they're benefiting from this guy being there. So even if the guy
is the meal ticket, yeah, he's the meal ticket. They'll never let him go.
Yeah. No matter what he does, he's the system is just so difficult. So you need I think you need leadership. That's to come from the very, very top level with dedicated leadership, and you treat football like a special project and you give it the means and the importance it deserves. I think that is the only way, and you can see countries that with relatively small means were able to do big things. I mean, take Switzerland. I wouldn't say they're small means, but they don't have the pool of talent that Nigeria or Cameroon have. But still, every World Cup they are there and they pass the first round almost every single time. They may not make it to the final, but come on, with 7-8 million people, look at what they're putting together. And it's not just in football; it's in tennis, it's in other disciplines, as well. And the last point, maybe I think it's a tough time right now, for the game and for society as a whole, right? With the COVID crisis, but I do think that we had reached a limit in terms of what capitalism can bring to football. It was insane, the numbers that were floating, in particular in the top leagues, and I would say top leagues, but the top clubs in the top leagues. I mean, it was absolutely insane. Where was this going to end? And I remember when I was at FIFA, I was like, man, we really should. Being at FIFA, you are in a position where you could change things a little bit. Try to bring things back. Bring the glory back to football. Stop the over commercialization of it. And really, I mean, if you remember in the 70s and the 80s and even 90s, football was already the most popular sport in the world. And there was a romantic side to it, which I think we have lost a little bit today, and that the fans today don't necessarily remember. How I mean, come on, your national team in the 80s, there was not a single billionaire on that team. Yet the team was strong. It was their national pride. And today you have to have golden teeth, golden ear, tattoos everywhere to be a star. What is that?
Mike, I'm laughing because you're such a purist.
But I think
I have some friends that are agents that would drive you out of the room right now if they were here.
But yeah, that's I think the business side of things has corrupted the beautiful game.
No, but you make a valid point. I'm going against the code of the people in the profession that I work in, but you make a valid point. Sometimes you have to. There needs to be a point at which the line is drawn, right?
And maybe the coronavirus will force that upon us. Calm down.
That's a good point. I'm looking to see what happens in this transfer window coming up this summer. This is in the midst of Corona, so I wonder if the money spent to be the same or if it to go down overall. It's something to take a look at to see what happens. But you bring up a good point. I think it's like you said, in the 1980s, that national pride meant a lot more. At least for some countries. Some countries it still resonates a great deal. But the egos from being a superstar at a mega club does play a part. I think it was Croatia that sent Kovacic home, right, during the World Cup. They sent him home. The coach said, "I don't have time for this. Have to get out of it." So it's it plays a role. I mean, these guys are superstars these days,
Yeah. But anyway, this was really fun, guys. Khaled, was great meeting you. And Boma, of course, been a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, man. I haven't seen you in a while. I guess next time I'm in Europe, though. You're in France. You're in Paris now, right?
That's right.
Yeah, in Paris. So
but it's we're closer than many American cities. So no matter where you are in Europe, it's a train ride away.
Train ride, yeah. That's why I said next time I'm in Europe, I'll try to come to Paris. I haven't spent time in Paris though. Funny enough, it's weird.
You'll never leave again.
Really? I've been to Spain, I've been to Barcelona, but I haven't been to Madrid. So maybe next time I'm there as well, we can get together and catch some good Spanish food. But no, absolutely, guys. Listen, thank you so much for doing this. We could talk for the next 4 hours. I'm sure we can, because it's so much fun talking about football. Maybe I'll try and get each one of you back so we can have individual conversations about a lot of stuff. But thank you again. Stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and
that's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. All the best, guys.
Take it easy.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Ciao.